Hi everyone, it's Penny Black and Jill Foster here with your next PB&J card class, and this is the last in our series of Less is More. And today is all about painting easy watercolor birds and then how to use them on your cards. And so I really love making cards with birds, and I find a beautiful bird stamp is really about all a card needs. It can be a very clean and simple card with just the focus being on that bird. So I wanted to show you how I like to paint in Penny Black's beautiful bird stamps. But you can also do this with whatever medium that you prefer using and just use these color suggestions and layout ideas. So I'm stamping with Canson or onto Canson 140-pound cold press watercolor paper using Memento Toffee Crunch ink. And what this does is give me sort of a faux no line watercolor look. Now I am going to go in with an extra small tip PITT Artist pen, which is a waterproof black marker, just to color in the eye and a little bit on the beak. And this will give this bird a finished look. And I love this because I don't have a dark outline, so not giving me sort of that coloring book look to the stamping, more of just a hand painted watercolor look. But it's easy to see, and then those just darkening up the eye and the beak is very easy to do. Now I'm going to paint using Distress Ink Reinkers used as watercolors, so I have a palette of those available, a paper towel, and some water. Now, if you'd like more detailed information on my watercoloring process, I will link a video of that for you down in the YouTube description box below. But today is just all about how to use these beautiful bird images. So if I think of it, if I'm planning ahead, I do like to usually start with my background if I'm going to paint the background. And I'm just going to be doing part of this image. So that's another little tip. Just spotlight a part of a bird image and it will give it a whole new look. Also makes it easier to paint. So I'm going to go ahead and just paint the background where it will be showing. That's our Frame It die that I'm using to frame this out. So I kind of held it up there to see how far I need to paint and what berries would actually be showing. So I would go around those a little bit. So I just put down my paint or my reinker that I'm using as a watercolor from the palette, and then I rinse off my brush and pat it dry and go back and just blend that using some water on my paintbrush. This is a little bit darker to the left of the bird, fading to lighter in front of the bird. So as I move out towards the right hand side, I have mostly just water on my paintbrush. So I'm just getting that done. Easier to do it first, like I said, if you think of it, so that you don't start having any painting that you've done on your bird sort of blending out into your background. So I'm going to dry that before I start painting the bird, just using my heat tool to speed up the process. I also decided to grab that PITT Artist pen and just go ahead and get the little feet here. Now, I will have a list of all of the supplies that I'm using down in the YouTube description box, including the colors of all the paints that I'm using, the Penny Black stamps and dies, and everything that I'm using, the paintbrush, all of that is listed for you down in that YouTube description box below. So if you have any questions, make sure you check that out. Now what I'm going to do is pick up that paint from my palette. It is going to be mostly concentrated with that ink on my paintbrush. I'll put that where I want it to be the darkest. Then off camera, I rinse off my brush, pat it dry on the paper towel, and then go back and blend that to the lighter shade. So I've got the tail feathers there, and then I'll begin working up here on the head. So putting that down darker with the most concentrated ink on my paintbrush. And then going back and blending that with just water on my paintbrush, and it's almost dry. It's been patted pretty dry on that paper towel. Just go ahead and blend that there on the back and on this wing. I love these winter birds stamps from Penny Black because you can use them for your Christmas cards, but they're also great for any type of wintertime thinking of you card or birthday card or even masculine cards. Even sympathy cards. They're just really, really beautiful. And one thing I also love about Penny Black birds is that they have a happy look to them. So sometimes I feel like stamps of birds can get sort of an angry look to them, but not penny black birds. They always have like a happiness to them, which I really enjoy on the finished card and while I'm painting it in. So once I finish those two brown areas, then I'm going to go ahead and dry it and move on to my next color. So I'm just going to grab this red, put that down where I want it to be darkest. And if you're ever not sure on the coloring for the birds, what I do is I just do a Google image search. So I will search like winter robin and on Google and go to images and just get ideas of what the actual coloring would be. You can also look at the packaging on your stamp, of your stamp product itself, for ideas as well. So here you can see I'm just blending that out. I'm starting light and then I will layer up some color here. Now I do find with reds I like to put a little bit of yellow. This is Scattered Straw Distress Ink Reinker, just so it doesn't turn pink on me. So I put down that first layer of red, then I added that yellow, and while it's still wet I'll go ahead and paint right on top, and those colors will start mixing and blending together. But I just like to do that so that to avoid that real pink look that sometimes a watered down red can give you. And I'll just keep blending those while it's still wet, putting in more color. And you start to see that coming to life. Now if I ever go too dark, I can lift color. So I just rinse off my paintbrush, pat it dry, and then go into a wet area, and it's called a thirsty brush. It will kind of soak up some of the color that is there. And then I will dry that. And the reason that I'm drying between colors that are adjacent to each other is so that when I add the next color on, the previous color doesn't start blending and bleeding out into the next section of the image. So I'm going to put just a touch of shadowing here with some Weathered Wood Distress Ink Reinker. So I'm putting that down where I want it to be the darkest, rinsing off my brush, patting it dry, and going back and just blending along that edge. And as you see these birds come to life as you're painting them or coloring them with colored pencils or markers, whatever you love to use, you find that the card really doesn't need much else. And that is something I think if you like making clean and simple cards, or sort of less is more feeling, or you want to give that a try, a quality image such as these penny black bird stamps can make all the difference, because once you add a little bit of color, just that alone stands on its own as being the focal point and a strong design. So I'm going to go in now and just get a few of these berries. And just for a little variation on these, I'll do some with the Fired Brick Distress Ink Reinker. Then I'll dry that, and then I'll put a little bit of that Scattered Straw and Barn Door Red on the others for a lighter red color. So without having to do any shading on the berries, I can still get some variation, and that ties into the colors on the bird. Now if you wanted to, you could outline or paint over those branches in the background, but I really like the light, delicate look that is left there from that stamping with the Memento Toffee Crunch. So I'm just going to leave those as they are with that light blue background. Again, sort of that less is more approach with that stamping too. And you can see how nicely that will fit inside the Frame It die cut. So here's a look. This is a stamp that we just painted, the 31-089 Flying Your Way. And here are a couple other new penny black stamps if you love birds. This is Picket Perch, and then also Resting. And I will show you the cards, some cards that I made with all of those. So here's the one that we just did together. I added that framed section on top of our Baroque embossed background, and then that leaves, this card design leaves a great space for a sentiment on the other side. Here is another card using that same design, that same sketch and layout, and spotlighting just a section of a larger stamp with some beautiful birds. And then another, again, that same design, spotlighting some beautiful birds. And then here, this is that Picket Perch stamp. This is a 5x7 card. The others are all standard size cards. And you can see what a different look you get when you do not spotlight the image. So just a really fun to play around with that technique, putting it in that really great frame it die cut. And here's that resting stamp, the full design on a 5x7 card. And then here it is inside, sort of spotlighted within that frame it frame die cut. I hope you've enjoyed today's Less is More video and this whole video series. I'd love to know what was your favorite, what was most inspiring to you. Thank you for all of your kind words and comments down below. We read all of your comments and they mean so very much to us. If you enjoyed today's video and this video series, make sure right now check that you are subscribed to our channel and hit that bell notification icon so you will know right away when we upload our next video. And remember, you can continue to connect with Penny Black on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram, our website, and blog, and those are all linked for you down in that description box below. Thanks so much for watching and happy stamping.